I trust you. I trust you.
It just started.
Welcome to the Friends of Zeus podcast. I'm Zeus. These are my friends. Tonight, well, first of all, let me take care of the business. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as I always say, there are rumblings on Rumble. That's Tom's baby. He's not here tonight. So tonight, in light of, well, last week we went with something different. We didn't want to touch on this, but as kind of a backdrop, I wanted to talk about the state of just the world right now. More immediate to us is the mass shootings, but that's kind of, like I said, a backdrop. I want to talk about the societal mental health that's in great disarray right now. And this is a good month because I believe this is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I did want to talk about that. As you can see, Mike's got the Las Vegas pictures behind him. I've got these two douchebags behind me. And it is important to acknowledge those things, because I think that, at least in the case of Klebold and Harris, that's for me. I don't know about you guys, but when it all kind of started here in the US, as far as the sensational, just, epically evil behaviors from our youth, I'm not a big believer that guns are involved, but if you put a gun on a table, it doesn't hurt anybody until somebody takes the action to pick it up. And that's kind of how I feel about it. Gun rights, yeah. Should there be restrictions? Of course. Are guns the problem, or are they a symptom or a vector for the problem, which is rage based on bullying, based on mental frailty? I don't like the paint with broad strokes, just use the mental health term across the board, because I personally am involved with the mentally ill all day long when I work. And some of the sweetest, kindest dispositions I'll run across, in a lot of cases, they're victims of far worse things than what they came into my arena for. But that's basically where I want to start. I guess the first thing we could talk about is this what happened down in this school. You said it's Uvalde, Mike? Uvalde.
Uvalde, yeah.
Where this kid came in and just walked into a classroom and just killed without any thought of what he was doing, or that is exactly what he wanted to do. Either way, the problem is we live in this world where we had a virus that hit us, and pandemic is the term. Lots of people dying, and within a matter of a year, we're able to find it's altering DNA. I have a problem with that, but we were able to find something that stems it. We have the capability to do that, but we can't do anything about these situations. We can't. There's no diagnostic testing. There's no fail-safes put in place to try and stop this. And I find that bothersome. It almost feels to me as though nobody's really trying that hard, because there's money to be made, or I don't know. You guys tell me.
Can I ask a question? Who do you think should be finding the mentally ill? How should they be discovered? Is that a horribly phrased question? I'm sorry. I'm just coming off the soccer field. I'm kind of just still in yelling at kids mode, which is not really prime for this.
Well, see,
this
and
conversation.
that in itself is kind of what I'm getting at. I meet people all the time. I have a kid on my unit that was there last time I was there. This guy is so schizophrenic that he goes into this like fugue state, where he starts swinging on people. And this guy's built like Mike Tyson. Like he fucking hurts people. But when he's not in that state, he's one of the sweetest, kindest kids you ever meet. So I don't like to paint all this violence with the mental health.
Agree. It's red flags. Like, how do you find the flags? Because so would you say that gentleman that you're speaking of should have the same Second Amendment rights as everybody else?
The one on the unit?
Yeah.
He should be cared for.
No, I agree, but my point is we're talking about mental health with guns. So I'm trying to figure out how, or with violence, I should say. Let's leave the guns out of it for now. It sounds like when he's in his rage mode, he's the kind of person you don't want to have access to firearms, right?
See, this isn't even a rage mode. This is a command hallucination mode. This is
altered state. How do you want to put it?
Huh?
Sure.
So this is the voices in his head telling him to lash out.
He's the kind of person I would say you probably wouldn't want to have access to firearms. How do you find him before he does get violent with weapons? Right. That's kind of what we're trying to figure out. Is that am I misinterpreting? Hold on, I just got to get it. Sorry. Go ahead. Keep talking.
I mean, slightly. I think it is. I understand what you're saying, but I would say that in these situations that we've seen, they require a great deal of organization. People in the mental health community very much lack that organization that you need.
For organization for mass shootings, is that what you?
Yeah, for instance.
I would think that it sounds like this gentleman is a danger to others and himself when he's in his altered state.
I would agree.
Right?
Yes,
if
but
he is, then I would say that he's the kind of person that you would want somewhere a flag to go up that he probably shouldn't be able to own weapons.
Oh, no. I don't get me wrong. I think that if you have spent time on a mental health unit, your gun rights perhaps should be out the door. It depends though, because there are people that are on a mental health unit it's a situational thing where
it's very
life
hard
happened
to just
and they snapped.
Agreed.
But I don't believe that the people that you see on a regular basis on a behavioral health unit are the ones that are capable of doing the horrific things that we've seen. See, it takes a lot.
I understand that.
It takes a lot.
Not everybody that needs help is so far gone as this young man in Uvalde. I think that everybody who's listening to us already knows that. You have somebody who's in your unit for stress and anxiety to a point where their family felt that they were unsafe and that they needed a little bit of help. And then you have people that are schizophrenic who can't perceive reality from what's going on in their head, right? And then you also have a case. I think what Tor is getting at, the larger issue is to get to your unit, something's already happened, right? So how do we really screen for the people like this kid who now after the fact we find out was running around with dead cats in a bag and had videos of that and was threatening people and basically threatening to do this on social media. We know that he had dropped out of school, at least that's what I understand, because classmates said that one day he stopped coming to school. Broken home situation. Like, at the end of the day, he's only 18 when he first buys that rifle, correct? So what
Right.
kind of a criminal history can he really have?
Sure.
And does he have
Yes.
any record of having any, mental issues? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's been
They're
thoroughly
saying no.
researched yet.
I haven't seen anything either, but I think that what Jack is getting at is I think we're all kind of talking around it a little bit. So, like, for example, certain medications. If you're on a certain medication, for X, Y, or Z, maybe that's something that would start to abridge your gun rights.
Right.
Right. That would be something that would be a flag to, like, crazily. In Massachusetts, if you apply for a medical marijuana card, you're not allowed to own weapons, which makes no sense to me now that especially because now it's legal in Massachusetts. But that's where it's like I understand what the lawmakers were trying to do by putting that into the law to legalize cannabis. Do I think it's correct? Probably not. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I understand the thinking behind it. It's like, oh, if you're doing this, if you have, if you have alcoholism as a problem, if you have prior domestic violence as a problem, those are things that are kind of obvious, to me, flags where maybe we should talk about, again, abridging your Second Amendment rights. Now, do you take them away indefinitely? I don't know that. I don't know what the standard needs to be. I don't know if you need to say, okay, so you have a domestic violence incident, you have restraining orders, you have X, Y, and Z, but that was 5 years ago. Now you've gone through a waiting period, you've cleaned your life up, you've changed whatever. Now you can come back and own your weapons again. I don't know what the mechanisms need to be to discover it, and I don't know what the mechanisms need to be to trigger it for you not to be able to, for you to regain your rights. So I think we're all kind of saying there should be something somewhere on either end.
Yeah, no, Tor, just specific to that, I think once the restraining order has been lifted and the complaining witness basically, lets it go, or sometimes even comes to court personally to have it expunged, at some point the person does get their gun rights back. Assuming there's no felony conviction. I mean, assuming that the case went, the way most of these cases do, which is nowhere.
I think
right. But as far as I think HIPAA rights come into this too. Now, if you get a medical marijuana card for treatment of XYZ, personality disorder or severe chronic anxiety or whatever, or depression, PTSD, then on the one hand, you could say, well, this person has a mental health issue that's so serious that maybe we don't want them around firearms. But then you got to say, wait a minute, where does it really infringe? Because especially nowadays in the pharmaceutical age, everybody has some anxiety. I mean, you can't turn around with somebody not getting a script, sometimes from their medical doctor, for insomnia or anxiety.
Sure.
So I don't know that we necessarily, like you're saying, maybe you don't surrender all of your Second Amendment rights because you go through a period of your life where you're suffering from some malady.
Right.
But I think
ironically, you're probably, the numbers, and again, total speculation, but the numbers would probably bear out that people are more a danger to themselves when they're in that state. And that's where, a lot of the times we talk about guns, we talk about gun rights, we don't talk about suicide by gun. 30,000 deaths or 20,000 deaths, something. It's
mostly over the age of 75.
Yeah, no, I think the bulk of homicide deaths by gun are suicides. I could be wrong about that, but I'm almost positive.
Most deaths by gun are by suicide, yes.
Right.
I don't know the breakdown of demographics, but I think suicides are way higher than homicides.
Sure.
Right? So what you're talking about then is, like, when these people are in that state of depression, that's when they're most vulnerable. That's when, for their own safety, much less the people around them, it might be a good idea to, again, abridge. I don't want to say take away their rights, because, like, it seems like that's a very final thing, but, like, there should be some mechanism that says maybe this person shouldn't own weapons right now.
Here's what I'm trying to say about it. We live in a world where you take your phone now and you put your thumbprint on it, and it opens your phone. It locks it. We're in a biometric age. Why can't we, if you're one of those people and they really want their gun, why doesn't it require a thumbprint on there that automatically sends information via GPS, whatever?
Your medical history?
No, just if you want a gun bad enough and you've been deemed mentally unwell at one point or another, sure, you can have a gun, but you have a special trigger lock that requires a biometric signal. None of this stuff is complicated anymore. And you unlock that gun, it goes out there into the ether. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the answer. I'm saying that that is certainly something that could be considered. The thing about this that you guys are, and you maybe because I'm in the industry, I understand a little more.
Please, educate us.
Mike got it.
I'm not going to say it. Lucy, you can put that ball out there all day long. I'm not going to kick it.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, but the point is you can't help it. That's the point. But okay, go ahead.
But this is what we're talking about too. Today.
I know it works tonight.
The thing is there's a level of organization that even with this kid who it was a fucking shit show from go, he still got into the school through a series of clumsy events, but he got in, he did what he intended to do. He bought the guns. He was social outwardly with this girl that he talked to. Like he had an ability to function to a certain level in society, even though, yes, he was walking around with the boxing gloves and he was clear. What? And the dead cats. Yeah. So
I haven't heard any of this. So I
heard that he walked around. He would walk around with boxing gloves and threaten to fight with people. But there's even kind of an organization to that. Like he brought gloves to make it less, less intimidating. Like, if somebody wants to fight you, you want to fight them bare knuckle, or would you rather have some padding in between it?
Well,
there's a weird, it's not a good logic, but there is a logic that he had behind it. There is this will work outside better than me walking up and punching somebody in the face bare knuckles. Like he did do things. He also socialized with the girl, that talked back to him. So like, obviously he was doing certain things
in another state.
Another country, I heard, right? I get that, but what I'm saying is the people I see, they get bent out of shape if they don't get milk. In a certain amount of time.
But Zeus, the people that you're dealing with are not the ones. They're not the ones we're talking about. I mean,
well, that's why I'm saying I don't like to paint this with broad strokes of mental health. I think there's a degree of evil that's far more involved in this, and a degree of stunted development.
Sure.
Like this isn't just mental health. This is bullying. This is abuse. It's neglect. It's diet.
Sure.
Your diet alone can have a great deal of effect on your mental health. Serotonin is found in most of like your breads, things like that. If you're not eating correctly, it can affect how
you add all those things together, and occasionally you get this kid in Texas
or the kid down in Parkland.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, I think you're absolutely right. That makes sense to me.
And here's where that one, like this is going to support my argument. The kid in Parkland So did you guys ever see the videos of him sitting in the interrogation room, and he's acting one way while he's waiting there and doesn't think anybody's watching and all that? He's just kind of like twiddling his thumbs, doing a lot of what would be perceived as normal. But as soon as they walk into the room, he goes flat affect, gazing, 1,000-mile stare. He changes his appearance for them. That indicates that he had organization, which means that whatever he did was more evil than it was crazy. He started talking when they got him, the cameras, he started talking about the demons made him do it and all this other stuff, and it was all
orchestrated,
a well-acted scenario.
Sure.
Now you want to tell me Adam Lanza was crazy? Absolutely. He was a case of mental health meets horrific violence meets he was able to function just enough to get done what he wanted to do. That kid was clearly ill. This kid down in Parkland, not so much. And honestly, I think this kid in Texas, I don't know. You look at the pictures of him. If I were to see him on the street, I'd say that kid's got some darkness going on. He had a real Richard Ramirez vibe. That was what I thought of the first time I saw him.
So we're skipping over Buffalo too. So what do you think about the guy from Buffalo? He was definitely organized. I don't think he was crazy. I think he had an agenda and he executed his agenda, right?
Well,
he was very organized.
I would say he was a zealot.
Yes, sure. Absolutely.
And
another form of crazy, depending on who you talk to.
Well, right. Zealotry and craziness are it's a thin line, man. We could also say the people that flew on the planes on 9/11 were zealots.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say that anybody is willing to end their life flying a plane into a building, killing 3,000 people is necessarily of the right mind.
Also, with mental health, it's not like a hard science. It's not like biology or chemistry or something that you can measure that is the same across systems and things like that. So, anyone that murders somebody in cold blood, right, an innocent person they've never met before, they have serious sociological issues, right? So, it's kind of baked in the cake to some degree. The thing that
not a crime of passion.
Yeah, if it's not a crime of passion, like something like this. And I agree, Tor. I don't think that guy up in Buffalo, I don't think he had voices in his head.
No, he was on a mission.
But he definitely is, a sociopath by definition.
Well, so that's interesting you said voices in your head, because and I think that this is something that maybe Zeus was trying to get to as well. The voices in your head was an isolated person back in the day. Now the voices in your head are the voices that you find and seek out on social media that reinforce the things that you're thinking and reinforce that negativity, that anger, right? And that doesn't push everybody to violence.
No.
It pushes certain people to it. And then I think that the problem is, I don't know how you discern somebody that just goes out and once it gets angry at it, versus somebody that's going to go out and commit atrocities. How do you discern between the two? Because not all those people on those boards would do the same thing that he did, even though they're talking about doing it. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah, you don't know. This is like having, I can't think of a good analogy, but we're really looking at the end result of all these things, and some of these people have things in common. They have things that aren't in common. They have things that are unique to their situation. There's similarities across situations, but to try to dissect it from the end it's crazy. We're looking at the result, like the people that are doing this, the guy in Vegas, the people that go into schools, grocery stores, right after Buffalo, there was the one at the church in California.
Yep.
I mean, that was the shoot. I don't know a ton about it, but the shooter was apparently a Chinese guy that was upset, and the church was primarily Taiwanese people, and he was upset, right? Whatever. So what the bigger question to me, and what I've been really, I just can't fully get my head around is like, what is causing all this stuff? Like, in other words, I'm not talking, it's not one thing. It's like a lot of things in life. I don't think there's just one thing. I think it's
Well,
same people can be exposed to 10 things and not have something happen. But I will say this, here's some things I've thought about. Kids that don't have anyone in their life that are looking out for them. I mean, this kid, this 18-year-old, the videos with the cats. I mean, classmates were saying that he was, trying to pick fights and stuff like that. And his father was not in his life, and his mother's a drug addict, and he's living with his grandparent. I mean, this kid needs some people in his life that are in his corner. It doesn't seem like he has that. And a lot of these people, I think, are kind of come from that. Again, that's just one facet. But dehumanization in our culture, I mean, that's been a big thing. I mean, and again, I'm not one of these anti-video game people, but I have to believe that spending hundreds and thousands of hours like shooting things on the screen with blood coming out, it's got to have some sort of desensitization.
I gotta disagree with you wholeheartedly.
It has zero effect. It has no effect at all.
I think the murder. Hold on.
Yeah.
I think that the murder porn that we see on TV, where like this.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. No, but yeah, no, the shows.
Is when you go into a video game, you go in knowing that it's not real. I would actually say that the video games are a form of catharsis, and
that's desensitizing. That's desensitizing.
No, desensitized is when you see it and you don't have a choice to see it. So when you turn on the news and it's there and you get wrapped up in it, that's one thing. When you have to go turn on the Xbox, you got to go buy the game. You got to go.
Okay, I'm just saying
it's a social medium for a lot of people.
There's kids that are getting these that they're not going out and buying them. They're in their house. And again, I'm not anti-video game. I'm just saying.
No. I'm just saying. I think that I've always had this argument. Movies, video games, yes, maybe a 0.001% would be susceptible to it, but I'm just saying the larger point is dehumanizing people. I mean, we have our entertainment. We've talked about this before. You pop on Netflix or Hulu or any of these streaming services, or you look at movies, it's like everything's dark. Everything's like a psychopath. There's like, how many freaking CSI shows are there on, like Special Victims Unit? You can't turn on prime. And again, I'm sounding like, guy yelling at clouds, but I mean, it's amazing when you find a channel or when you find a show that's not freaking insane over the top with violence or whatever. Anyway.
Sure. I think it's crazy that you have, we're in a culture that will, like, if you can go to a PG-13 movie that has lots of violence, but you can't show boobs.
Right, exactly.
That's
I mean,
crazy. You can't say fuck. But you can show lots of violence. Like that's, I can see where you're going with the societal influence of violence is kind of okay.
Right? I think these are societal changes that just in our lifetime have been evident. When I was a kid and I saw The Road Warrior, I think I was 10, my eyeballs were like saucers. I was like, what the heck? I mean, that effect, I still remember to this day. I still remember.
Well, it's interesting though that you say that, because what was, so my seminal movie like that was Jaws, right? What's Jaws rated?
Is it R?
PG. Jaws is rated PG.
Oh.
So back in the day, those, you're what you're saying, like it hasn't really changed that much. right? What we've pushed limits where, oh, now we can say PG-13, so we can do this now.
I think movie violence has changed a lot.
It's increased, but man, Jaws is a pretty violent movie.
No, but
nobody walked into SeaWorld and started shooting killer whales.
But Road Warrior was definitely rated R.
You know what I mean?
Sure. No, there's a lot. Like if you look back, there were a lot of violent movies that weren't rated R.
And again, right. I am not, against movies I'm not the PMRC in us, and I'm not against video games. I'm saying but I'm just saying to take, you have to look at where these people come from. Like what is wrong in our culture that this is going on. You've also got, after the shootings, you've got a press that glorifies this. Now they say they won't, but they do. And
of course they do.
Again, it's like headlines. We have 24-hour news now.
It gets people to watch.
You can't get away from it. I mean, I got, when that thing happened in Uvalde, I got the way I found out about it, because I was, up to my neck in work. I got a text from the school saying that they were aware of the situation and da 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 da. I was like, where was situation?
What situation?
Like,
yeah.
And so it's like, this stuff is all around, and not every kid, and it tends to be 18 to 25-year-old males, right? Why aren't girls doing this? That's the question. Can we ask that question? I mean,
funny thing about that is that song "I Don't Like Mondays" is about this girl in England. Walked in, shot a bunch of her classmates. They asked her why she did it. She said, "I don't like Mondays." So
again, there's going to be exceptions.
Irony there.
Yeah, that's pretty close to what happened. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, and again, the gun situation is a valid conversation to have, but I'm almost like, whatever the situation is with guns, what else? What can we do? Because like with any defense, and this is what this is, it's a defensive. We're in a defensive posture here. There needs to be multiple layers of it. You have, if you're in Zeus's ward, you can't get a gun. If you do, but there's also got to be like, hey, are we checking in with parents? I mean, this kid was giving off signals every single time. It's always like, this kid was giving off signals left and right, and
I agree. I understand what you're saying. So at some point, we do have to talk about guns. But we can wait now. But like,
no, I'm cool talking about guns
because there's an issue. Like they have video games, they have mental health issues, they have all the things that we're talking about in every other country in the world. And we're the ones that have mass shootings like this.
We have to deal with this state of rage and anxiety, and
it's everywhere,
which can both evolve into different things. Mike and I were talking about this, and I'm glad you brought it up in that fashion, because this, I think, is really important. Here in the US, yes, this is our fast food, violent, what's the word? Explosions that we have. But you go to China and there's this genocide of is it Uyghurs?
Uyghurs, yeah.
Yeah, you go to Rwanda and you've got the Hutus and the Tutsis that are killing each other based on the differences in their face. Like that's how they knew who to kill. You go to Chechnya and the Russians are just eliminating them. Again, Islam. I mean, yes, we do have gun violence in the United States, but again, if I put a gun on this fucking table right in front of me right now, it ain't gonna do a goddamn thing unless it gets picked up. And that's my point. A gun is a fucking paperweight until somebody takes the action with it.
But the fact that we have 400 million of them versus England or other Western countries that don't have the crazy proliferation of weapons, they don't have the same gun violence.
Yeah, but
dude, all the countries that you just named, they're not westernized countries, right?
China, I would say is
what about the fact that the vast majority of gun homicides in this country are committed by illegally owned firearms? I mean, this guy, it's a terrible story, and it gets us all, You
His
know,
were legal, but like that's the point.
no,
Is like,
no, his were. That's my point, though. But these
Yeah.
cases, even though we've had a couple of them now rattled off, and so all the lobbyists are getting up in arms about it, you still have, like you said, 444 or 440 million guns roughly that are owned mostly legally by gun owners that aren't going around doing anything like this.
agree. Most of those gun owners also are for common sense reforms.
No, there should be. There should be. There
So,
should be.
but each of those illegal guns that you're talking about, at some point, were legally owned.
Right, but this kid, we already talked about the fact that this kid was only 18 years old. So there's one reform maybe we can all agree on, maybe.
Make it 25.
How about we raise it up to 21 like we do with fucking so many other things in this country?
What if you made it, what if you said you have to have a high school diploma? No, because what we were talking about before about nobody was caring for this kid, right?
Yeah.
Nobody gave a shit about him.
How do you get it done?
So
Right.
let's, and I come from a family of teachers, right? So my dad was the guy when he was a
They're
teacher.
monsters.
That would be, sorry. My dad was the guy that would be running towards fights. And I know that if he was alive today and if he was teaching today, he'd be running towards gunfire. And my father-in-law is also a teacher, and he'd run towards gunfire because that's what teachers that really care do. So maybe if you said you got to be have a high school diploma, maybe you start to weed out some of these kids that don't have that influence, that find a teacher that gives them that or a football coach or whatever that makes them. We're talking. I think Zeus, you said it. It's like point of a percent are the kids that go over the edge. So if we pull back a little bit of them so that yes, they get angry, yes, they get, but they don't go off and decide to kill everybody or to kill their classmates, you know.
No, I'm all for even, like I said, if you wanted to raise the age a little bit, I think a high school diploma. I think you should need a high school diploma to vote too while we're at it. If you really want to, go with
I disagree with that.
I know you do, Tor.
Yeah.
That was for you.
Yeah, I got you. You can't kill someone with a vote.
No, you can't. You can't. I know. I'm kidding. But that's not a bad suggestion. I mean, I don't think. I don't know if anybody would be against that. I don't know, Mike. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
I mean, my whole thing is, like I said, this is a multifaceted thing, and I'm, like I've said this before. I'm willing to talk about, gun laws or whatever. We have a gazillion gun laws on the books right now. None of them did anything to stop this. And I also never really hear
if they had the same
proposals.
laws in Texas that they had in Massachusetts, this guy wouldn't have been able to get a gun in a day. And if he had to go through the waiting period that we have to go through in Massachusetts, school would have been out by the time his birthday, when he was eligible to buy the gun, whatever, at 18.
Yeah, but dude, mental health doesn't rage and bullying and being disassociated.
Sure, all of those.
They don't have an expiration date.
Agree.
7 days is fucking bullshit, man.
Agree.
Yeah.
I don't buy whether he would have still done it. He would have still done it.
Well, let's put it this way. He would have had to go through to buy legally. The laws that we have in Massachusetts, you can say laws don't work. Laws in Massachusetts work. We have the
Here's
least
the
amount of
difference between organization and lack of organization. I'm going to do it. First of all, I'm going to get away with it. I'm going to buy a gun illegal that doesn't track back to me.
Sure.
If I need to get out that rage and I'm going to do it, that's how it gets done. Because I want to walk away and I want to see the fruits of my labors. These people are going in, they don't give a fuck.
They're suicidal. Well,
but he also bought the guns legally, right?
Correct.
He bought both guns. He bought all the ammunition. Everything was on the books.
Well, wait a minute. Did he have a handgun too? Because I don't think.
Yeah.
No, it was two AR-15 types.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but he left one in his car.
No, but I thought the handgun. I mean, the handgun. You got to be 21 to get a handgun in Texas. That's my understanding of the Texas law.
That's probably the one he shot his grandmother in the face with. Was it?
I don't know.
Maybe that was the family hit. Who knows?
So the thing is, Tor, and you're right. I mean, obviously there's different laws. There's each state has their own thing, but Texas can't have the same laws as Massachusetts because, the South Texas on the border in the middle of nowhere is not Sherburne Falls, Massachusetts. I mean, you don't have the need.
Welcome to Worcester.
I'm just saying it's a whole thing. Like when people are out in Montana or whatever, I mean, you see people in Alaska, they go for a hike and they take a gun with them because there's bears out there. You know, it's like you don't have that in Manhattan. You don't have that.
Well, I mean, look at the guys that came and saved the day.
New York that have rural, that are on the Canadian border. There's plenty of places in Massachusetts that are rural that have bears.
Yeah, but
you know, like Vermont is kind of, that's what Bernie is, still a gun guy.
Well, wait a minute.
Because
but what about Buffalo, New York? Wasn't there strict gun laws in Buffalo? Didn't that guy get legally owned firearms too?
He wasn't from Buffalo, I believe he was from Ohio.
Well, here's a good argument for what Mike
brought
said.
His guns from Ohio?
I think so, yes. Can someone fact check me? Because
I think he was from New York. It's just a different
we don't fact
town.
check on this show tour.
Okay, that's fine. Then he was from Ohio.
Yeah, we do it later.
Yeah, he came from elsewhere. I don't know if it was Ohio or another.
Here's another thing about it. To support what Mike said, look at the guys that came and saved the day in this Texas incident. It was the Border Patrol guys.
My hesitation.
I think they're called board tack or something.
It was one off-duty guy who with a borrowed gun.
I heard he was border patrol tack.
Border.
We're going to have a tough time talking about this, about what happened right now, because there is a lot of disinformation going around.
There's a lot of wrong.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
And here's where all the other shit that we talk about on this show comes into play. So there was a transgender person, male to female, that looked a great deal like this Salvador Ramos kid, and they started putting these pictures around saying that he was also a cross-dresser, whatever term you want to use. I don't mean that offensive.
I heard that.
But so now this person, people knew them and like started giving them shit. But yes, and this kid was not non-binary. He was trying to hook up with like an OnlyFans chick or something.
I haven't heard anything reported about this guy that he had any history of mental illness yet. I mean, I don't think
there were things that were red flags where it would be like, if they came up
diagnosis,
some sort of a background check, if somebody did a social media search on him, if somebody like this is part of the problem. And like you say that if you put the gun on the table, someone has to use it. Well, there's 440 million of them, so that's 440 million tables. And the percentage is there's going to be somebody that uses them.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where like I am not a liberal that says we want to take away your guns. Okay, I'm not that at all.
Nor am I.
I actually believe that the best way, and I was talking, I thought I was talking to you guys. Anyway, the easiest way to fix this, there was one law that needs to be made on the federal level, in my opinion. And that's that every firearm needs to have liability insurance, right? So if you do that, then the insurance companies become the bad guys and they will regulate the hell out of it, because they're not going to let everybody have an AR-15. They're going to have checks and balances where you have to register, you have to go through a mental health test, you have to do this, you have to do that, because they're not going to insure just anybody for just anything. And I think
you're right. Look what they've done with the pharmaceuticals. I disagree.
Yeah, I mean that's just regulation. No. I mean that's
they
like
screwed up pharmaceuticals.
A shell game.
So bad.
It's not a shell game though, because it's not the government, and that a lot of people have a problem with giving their information to the government. But
it's the same. It's the same thing with Twitter. There's going to be the interaction between the government and the agency. The government regulates the insurance industry, so they're hand in glove. I mean, this is the same reason why
there should be. What do you think common sense gun laws should be then? Because this is where it gets dicey, because here my experience being 50 years old is that I look today and Joe Biden is saying, and the Democrat Party is saying that, 22 caliber bullet that'll get lodged in your lung, but a 9mm will blow your lung out. It's like Robert Kennedy was killed by a 22. Like, AR-15 is like an assault weapon. It's fully automatic. People don't even know what they're talking about. Like, they don't even know what they're talking about. And so I don't
it's
either.
difficult.
So
it's
please
difficult.
Enlighten me.
But what I'm saying is it's difficult to be like, you know what? Okay, let's raise the limit where you have to be 21 years old in whatever state to buy a rifle. But it never stops there. That's my concern, is because it's the creeping lunacy. It just keeps getting added, and they've already been telegraphing that their goal is total prohibition. Trudeau just came out today and said no handguns at all, and our media is like, yeah, the Democrat people in the Democrat Party, they're cheering that. That's their end game, man. So why make little deals here and tiptoe around it when their end game?
We do nothing then.
Is
so
prohibition.
Doing nothing is
doing nothing. I'm saying I'm trying to come up with things that are other things to do. That's what I'm saying.
So you're saying, like, mental health. If we can find out, if we can discover the gene that all of these folks have.
No, it's not that easy. None of this is easy.
Simple.
This is hard. This is hard.
It is hard. Yes, I totally agree.
Allow me to interject for a second, guys. Here's something that I've noticed, and dude, the reason I got into psych was my fear of psychosis, right? Like serial killers. It started with serial killers, and I was like, I wanted to know more about what I feared. This is my new fear. These are serial killers. These are like Uber predators. You know, these are next level. One thing that we can connect a lot of these with, broken homes.
Sure.
Adam Lanza, no mom, no dad at home. And I think it can be argued that there is a reason. What?
We're not going to legislate that. It's not.
No. But we can certainly. That's a red flag is a broken home, and
I think half the kids in this country live in broken homes by that.
Dude,
right?
Dude,
at least
I spiral constantly. I don't go out and do it. I came from a broken home. But what I'm saying is, if they red flagged me when I was a kid, I would understand it at this point in my life. I'd be like, I see what they were looking for.
Well, you know? I mean, the FBI's had behavioral sciences for a while now. It's how they profile serial killers and the like. I mean, like, we're aware of some of the red flags.
Yeah, but we're doing it all afterwards. We're going, oh yeah, we knew that.
The solution to this is not a top-down solution. The solution to this is grassroots up. It's people. Right. This is not something that. It's people caring about each other. It's people not dehumanizing each other. It's, this social media, which is actually just social isolation. Doesn't bring people together. It divides people.
You guys, I'm guessing that all three of you voted for the most divisive president in history.
I didn't vote for Biden.
I voted Biden.
You did vote for Biden? Okay, you both all
voted
for Biden?
but Tor. Don't get it twisted. I fucking hate the fact that I voted for Biden.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the honesty. Donald Trump is one of the most divisive people in history, right? Donald Trump, he says things outwardly that Democrats are the bad guys, right? He says these things.
Yeah, but Democrats are now running around saying the same thing about Republicans, man.
Dude, if you
look,
every program that a Democrat wants to do helps Republican states. Every single program, every single thing that people want to do. We talk about Medicare for all. We talk about that helps Republicans mostly, helps conservative states mostly. I'm in a state that pays way more into the system than we get out of it. And who gets the money? Mostly red states, right? So everything that I want to do isn't divisive. Everything that I want to do helps everybody. I'm demonized by people by saying I want to take your guns away. I don't know one Democrat that says we should take all your guns away.
I know one, the President of the United States and the Vice President have come out and said it.
But
you want to take away 440 million guns? Is that what they really said?
I'm just saying that's what the rhetoric is, man.
Wait.
There's not this nuanced thing that you're talking about.
Hold on. I mean, take away 80,000 of those guns because those were given to the Taliban. He's an asshole.
I don't like Mr. Biden either for a lot of different reasons than you guys. But his policies are certainly policies that help all Americans.
Like inflate,
and he doesn't say things.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Let's not turn. Yeah. We're tangent alerting all over the place here.
Yeah.
No, wait. Well, I
point.
think after that we have to promise our viewers to do a Trump Biden episode with Tor, maybe next week or in 2 weeks.
I'm not to put a bow on this. I'm not a huge fan of the president. I got to tell you, I voted for him. I'd vote for him again if he's up against Trump, if he's a Democratic nominee. I'm not a huge fan of what he's done. I'm definitely not. I think that he's had a lot of things that have gone against him. It is what it is. But the problem the underlying problem that we're talking about here is this same thing. The rhetoric is the issue.
Actually, wait.
The rhetoric pushes.
Yeah, but you just wanted to know things we can look for.
Wait. How can you fault the rhetoric when you just said Donald Trump is the most divisive president in history?
Things that he says. I was unprepared, Jackie. Give me no time. But if you want to list of things,
you just threw it out there. But
why did he get banned from Twitter?
That's a good.
That's a good
question.
Talked
about that quite a bit.
Why did he get banned from Twitter?
Because all of a sudden Twitter's going to end up liable for the things that he was saying.
They're not liable. No. They're protected under 232.
Unless that gets rescinded, which is what they were talking about doing.
Who's going to sue? I mean, that is such a.
Guys. No,
not the case.
Kansas City, right? Sorry.
Listen. So back to what I was saying. Broken homes,
school doors, and armed cops at every school. How about we go back to the?
I'll tell you why. Okay, so let's talk about.
Wait. I want to say this.
Go ahead, please. You're the boss.
Broken homes is definitely a red flag. Listen.
That's 50% of the people, though, man. That doesn't do anything.
So wait a minute. So if I don't
already knocked out 50% of the people you have to worry about.
So they can't own guns.
No.
Okay, then what do you?
Stop. Let me finish. What we can do is we can have. You have anybody familiar with like Myers-Briggs, the Myers-Briggs test?
Yeah.
Okay. There are questions you can ask. There are observations that you can make with that 50% that you've eliminated from the ones you have to worry about, right? Or that you've added to the ones that you have to worry about. So you've already, most people from functional homes are going to be okay. That's just a broad statement, but just to eliminate all this.
Statement. I have to think that some of these mass shootings have been done by people that have had two parents.
Of course, yeah, I would assume that.
But I'll bet.
So you're not eliminating. Like, I understand what you're trying to do, Zeus, but
what I'm saying is we're doing fucking nothing. We're doing fucking nothing.
Sure.
We're not looking at the kids that have a fucked up home life. Dude,
sure.
I'm an anomaly. I had it all go against me. Drugs in the house, fucking abuse, fucking all of it. I'm the anomaly. But I had the thoughts. I had the dark thoughts. I didn't act on them. But here's what I'm saying. We got to start somewhere. We're doing fucking shit. Because somehow this shit sells guns, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, because you're worried about somebody walking into your kid's school and shooting them up. Well, I got to get a gun so that I can get there and do whatever. I don't know what the logic is, but there is something that we are actively not doing, the powers that be, because this can be addressed. This can be, people can be put under a microscope. And the bad part about this is man, we're going to have to big brother it up a little bit, man.
Well,
you got to watch the Facebook. You got to watch the fucking.
Why don't we make the schools safer?
Right, but I refuse the idea of arming teachers.
Why?
Because they're a stressed out fucking job too.
Yeah, that's damn true.
Those guys could fucking flip out just as quickly.
So
there's a difference between arming teachers and preparing them for a combat situation.
Oh yeah, right.
That's not the answer. The answer isn't to make the schools the new battlefield.
Agree.
The answer is to make the schools a refuge from.
Totally agree.
The anger and the violence.
They're gun-free zones now.
It's eliminating bullying. It's eliminating child abuse. It's eliminating drugs and alcohol.
All of those things.
Yeah. So when you ask what can we do to stop this, those are some of the things. We're not doing fucking any of that. We say we care, but we just keep fucking letting that nerdy kid that's just socially awkward, maybe even Asperger's, that's just quirky.
Sure.
And looks at things in a different way, maybe kindly.
Well, we've cut out art. We've cut out music.
We got rid of fucking dodgeball.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Well, dude,
dodgeball was one of the greatest things.
Well, yeah.
You got to get, but dude, in answer to Mike's thing about video games, dodgeball was our fucking violent video games.
Sure.
When we were kids. You didn't see somebody going off and shooting somebody after a dodgeball.
Dodgeball was an incredibly bullying event, though.
Oh, dude, whatever, man.
Dude,
Dodge.
Absolutely.
It's called Dodge.
Dude, I get it, but there's a lot of kids out there that
move the fuck out of the way.
Dude, I'm an athlete. I grew up an athlete. It's easy for me to duck out of the way. A lot of the kids that you're talking about are the kids that get pummeled in dodgeball.
Oh, they're tiny.
Dude, let's put it this way. I'd rather spend a lot of money in art. I'd rather spend a lot of money in music. I'd rather spend a lot of money in extra teachers in schools.
You know who's the target? This big fucking monolith of a guy over here. Sure. I got hit all the time. Not the tiny guys. They moved. They shimmied.
They could move.
They could. I was the one that had to learn to catch it. That's what made me a problem.
Yeah, good hands. That's good.
But I mean, honestly, you say that. I think the removal of things like dodgeball, competitive sports. They don't even have the. Do you guys remember like the presidential fitness thing? Yep. They don't even have that. No competition. Everybody gets a shake at the end of the game.
There's plenty of competition.
No, man. You got to have winners. You got to have winners. You got to have losers. You got to have something to strive for. If everybody gets the fucking slushy at the end of the fucking game, nobody has anything to work for.
I think we lost.
I mean, I'm in the most liberal state out of all of them, and my town has plenty of that competition. So we have that competition in schools. We have that competition in local sports. That's not the issue, right? To me, Jack, what you're saying about let's arm teachers, not arm teachers, rather, but let's protect schools. Let's put armed guards. But first of all, the cost for that is astronomical, right? And you're already talking about school budgets where teachers have to go and buy a lot of their own school supplies to make sure that they have enough going on.
Yeah, but how much money goes to police budgets? How much money goes to the military? Yeah. You're telling me
you're telling me my town has 10 schools in it, 12 schools, including the Catholic schools, private schools. So you're talking about one on-duty officer, two? Like you're gonna single door, single point of entry. So so that person needs to be trained. That person you're talking about, I don't know, $500,000, $600,000, $1 million to add that just to our school district, which is not a big school district. In a school district that doesn't have a lot of money to begin with.
I don't know. It seems doable and worthwhile to fund something like making public schools at the very least safer for our children.
I think what Zeus is saying is that you make schools safer by making them a place where not just it's gun-free, but where kids go and they can experience life and growing up in a way that is free of bullying. That has nothing to do with guns.
No, right? It doesn't.
I think that's what kind of Zeus, I don't mean speak for him, but I think that's kind of what he was talking about, right?
I'm not speaking for Zeus. I'm saying this country has enough money that if we're going to have a place where we entrust our children for 8 hours a day, I wouldn't mind if it looks a little bit like the airport. I want to see armed guards. I want my kids to be protected. This guy.
What does that do? So let's
talk about Uvalde. Uvalde, the kid got in a car accident. 15 minutes. Was shooting at the local funeral home and at businesses on the street. Cops were called at that point like 4 times. Cops still didn't get there. He walked up to the school. He found an open, unlocked door, and he went right the fuck in. There was no confrontation with an SRO. There was no confrontation with a cop. And then once the cops got there and they heard shooting, they stood outside and kept the parents from going in. Yep. It took over an hour before this kid had to engage with return fire of any kind. And if you have a gun-free zone with a bunch of little kids in it, when one of these percentages decides to go off, it's like a turkey shoot.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a target.
So I want to go back to what this all started with, right? Which is the societal issues of desensitizing violence. What do you think an elementary school where a kid's got to go through a metal detector and go past an armed guard every day does to desensitize violence?
Yeah, we've had them in
You just
Baltimore City
increased the
for
normalization
decades.
of it, right?
No, I'm saying
Hundreds.
we've had that in schools for decades.
Not in every school.
And in Baltimore we did. I mean, for
there's
decades.
a big difference. So, but now what Jack's saying though is again, every school, 100,000 schools in the country. How many? I don't know.
Yeah,
About
but what cost? I mean, since when is cost an issue? We just spent like $15 trillion in the
incredible
last
issue with
year.
education.
Wait,
I'm just talking.
Wait, Mike. We just gave $40 billion to Ukraine,
Which would more than pay for all of this.
Every year.
Yeah, it probably would for like 10 years.
Then you know what? Like,
and we just gave $800 million worth of weapons to the Taliban.
You guys are.
When was last mass shooting at an airport?
Where it's apples to apples. I grew up in a town in New York where
that's a valid question. When was the last mass shooting at an airport?
I have no idea.
I'm just saying that we have these.
How many airports are in the country?
We have these places that are like, here's where we send our most precious resources.
Not nearly as many as there are schools.
And we do nothing to protect them at all. We do nothing to protect them.
But here's the difference.
So
here's the difference.
If
you're bringing guns into an airport, you're going to take over a plane.
I'm sorry?
I said the difference is if you're bringing guns to an airport, they're not to injure people at the airport. They're to get on the plane and take over the plane.
The point is people pick the schools because they know no one there has a gun. That's why they're going there.
Yep.
There are lots of places that don't have guns though, right?
Right.
But they don't have a lot of little children.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of schools that don't have at least one officer there with a gun.
They can go to a little league field and kill kids too, and there's no guns there.
Or shoot politicians at a
baseball field. They can go to the football game after school and kill kids.
Well, there's
how do you fix all that?
Well, you can't, Tor. That's the point. But you can at least make the schools safe because that's where the little kids are for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
So who is this person that you're hiring again? So 99,000 schools. Let's just say it's one per school, which is not nearly enough in many of the schools you're talking about.
How about this? If you get a divorce, you are obligated, fucking obligated, to have counseling for your children. Obligated.
Sure. I think that would be great. That's
okay.
Smart.
There are answers.
Oh God.
Well, you don't agree?
Now you're going to tell every divorced couple in America that just by virtue of getting divorced, they have to get some government counselor for their fucking children. No, I don't agree.
You're obligated.
I kind of think that's where some of that money should be spent.
You can just, dude. I understand, and I didn't mean to. I don't mean to.
No, I'm not even taking that personally. I'm just looking at statistics.
But I'm not saying government. It doesn't have to be government. You can choose who you do it with. Most people will have to do that.
I'd love to get into the healthcare debate, but I think that's another tangent. But
that's another show.
right. But so like
I could say you should just give them all fucking antipsychotics if you get a divorce. Fuck. Let's just.
Yeah, but again, that's trying to say like everyone is the result of a broken home. I mean, again, we're not. I'm saying no one thing.
I'm saying that it's something, a place to start your observation.
I'm saying there's no one profile that fits everybody, and so when you try to solve that profile, you're going to miss everyone else. Now, one thing
I disagree. I think bullying is huge. I think
bullying was around when I was a kid, and we didn't have. I mean, we had shootings in the '80s in the beginning, not as much as in the late '80s. But this wasn't an issue.
Yeah, but that's back to what the whole show started with. This
but the
degradation of our psychological well-being.
Yeah, but
on a massive scale, we have to.
Yeah, but Zeus, the DOE already addresses bullying. They have for the last 10 years. And ask anybody who works in a school. It's all over the place. You'll get expelled or suspended if you're bullying people all the time. It's taken very seriously now.
And the definition of bullying is always expanding too.
Yeah, but I mean, workplace, they call it workplace violence, but I mean, essentially it's bullying.
So one thing, just getting back to Tor's point about gun laws. So as you know, I lived in Baltimore City for almost 20 years, and
go Cal,
go Cal, and during the 90s, it's getting back up to the 90s. There's like 350, 375 murders every year in Baltimore City. The entire 18 years I lived there, decades since I was a little kid, even to today. Sometimes it goes over 400. The majority of those crimes, they're not when they catch the people, they're not prosecuted for gun crimes because they plead out of those, right? There are laws that aren't enforced. The way our justice system is set up, it de-incentivizes these lawyers to pursue them because it is such a pain in the ass to go through court and charge someone with that and win it. So they plead it down to something else, either get the person some jail time or no jail time or probation, and they're right back out on the street again.
But Mike, you got to admit,
there are laws.
The NRA has got to be involved in that to some level. They want guns not bad. I mean, I'm on board. Guns not bad. Guns are paperweights.
I'm just saying we have ridiculous amount of murders. We have like 30,000 murders a year in this country. I mean, we have Chicago, St. Louis, these major cities, and it doesn't even make the news, man. Unless it's like a kid on a porch, like a 5-year-old girl that gets shot, or like a 10-year-old kid in the car out in LA, like driving with his mom. That makes the news. But the vast majority of these hundreds and thousands of people a year that are dying, they don't even make the news. And there's laws on the books that are getting ignored. And I'm not saying I have the solution for that, Tor, but that's what throws me. Is like, I get that these mass shootings they're freaking horrible. It's like a fucking nightmare. I can't even.
Well, yeah.
I'm even thinking about it.
That's the anomaly. Is the there are a lot of them. There are way more of them here than anywhere else. But it's the little ones. It's the suicides. It's the other.
Yeah, it's all over.
By gun violence that is not talked about. It's talked about in the big number. It's not talked about in, like, it certainly isn't in the local paper, in the police blotter every day here, where so and so died of gun violence, so and so died of suicide, so and so, those things are glossed over and not talked about.
But here's another thing that we have to consider.
But another thing that's not talked about are defensive uses of firearms, which is like I think 1.6 million last year. Those don't
so 1.6 million what? What does that number mean?
I'm talking about defensive uses of firearms. I'm talking about people.
In what context are you talking about that, though? Because those people aren't shooting people dead, or we'd see the numbers reflected in the 30,000 gun deaths every year.
I think some of them are shot dead. A lot of them are by police. A lot of them are by people in their own homes. If somebody's breaking in, or if
but that's what I'm asking you. So 1.6 million what? 1.6 million
defensive uses of firearms.
Yeah.
But what is that? What is a defensive use of firearms? Is what
somebody breaks into your house and you put a bullet in their fucking brain.
So again, that goes into the 30,000 gun deaths. So these are people that would be shot and go to the hospital, shot and not dead.
I don't think it's 1.6 million gun deaths. I'm not saying that everyone involved.
No, it's just brandishing.
I'm asking what it is. I'm asking because
I have no idea.
A number. Yeah, that's a number that I don't understand, and I'd like you to clarify it if we're going to throw it out there.
No, I'm just saying that's the number of cases where it's been reported to police that a legally owned firearm was brandished in order to prevent a crime.
So fired, brandished is just shown.
No, just shown.
Yeah, shown. I don't know if they're all fired, Tor. I mean, I didn't look.
I doubt it. That would be, yeah.
Yeah, I doubt it.
That's a huge number for that then. So yeah, that's what
it's not that huge of a number though. You said there's 440 million in the United States. This is 1 out of 440 that is used in this fashion. It's not that big of a number, really.
Yeah,
how many?
Yeah, I think most legally owned firearms aren't. Most legal firearm owners are law-abiding, right? I mean,
agreed.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have these cases that we've gone into all the reasons why you have a crackpot like Uvalde, and then it's a matter of what can you do about it when X meets Y, when crazy person, whether you like that term or not, I apologize, has the legal right to acquire a gun. and he does, and he goes to a school. That's the issue we're dealing with now. Like, what can we do about it?
And that goes back to what I'm saying. I'm not saying that my little thing about assessing is going to solve all the problems, but it would be a good launching point.
I like what you're saying, Zeus, because I think that what you're trying to do is, okay, so
stem the
it's hard
tide.
to put numbers on it, right? It's, yes, I understand what you're saying. I get that. I agree with that to a point. I would love to have so let's say something silly like you have to graduate from high school. That means in theory that you've had a lot of different people that have been exposed to you that
or
can
you're
help
educated.
you. Well, maybe not educated.
But no, seriously, you read Animal Farm. You read 1984.
It helps.
You read Catcher in the Rye, for God's sakes. That could start a whole thing. But
right. I agree with what you're saying. Also, you have a guidance counselor that you have access to that might, if you're to talk directly to what you're talking about, maybe kids from a broken home need to go, like, they have their guidance counselor goes through deck B that talks about
that's what I'm saying.
You're dealing with, right? So I get that. So all of a sudden now, that's a way that could make it life better for these kids through a program that's not arming teachers or arming guards. That's saying, all right, you got a lot of kids that go through a broken home. They have they don't have the same wherewithal as other kids that have two parents. So how do you help that? You help that by saying, okay, well, boy, oh boy, this kid's 7 years old.
That's how
dodgeball. Everyone's dodgeball. The 7-year-old kid is, in the system now, goes through guidance counselors, goes through the nurse, whatever it is, where they can go through A, B, C, D. Look, he's still having trouble. Now he's 10. Now he's 14. Now he's a young adult and he's still having trouble. That becomes, or the flip side of that is the kid's not having trouble. Look, we've helped to stem those negative influences or the non-influences that are there through a program that's relatively simple.
That kid that was not mentally frail, that does go through some of this gauntlet of mental health reinforcement. Because they know the pain that they've been through and have learned from through counseling and all that, they see something in that other kid, the one that was frail, and they embrace them, and they show them that everything can be cool. They learn those skills to help that other one cope. Listen, this is all about, I hate to use it, but we really, the whole it takes a village to raise the child thing, we dropped the ball, man. We dropped it all over the place.
It's the
dodgeball. We dropped the dodgeball.
Don't drop the dodgeball, you're out.
But the point being is, and I'm gonna do the dodgeball thing one more time. The thing that I don't like about what you said about it was a bad sport. If everybody is always just not striving to be better, this is where I have a problem with, like, the two baseball teams getting the slushies. Both teams get them at the end. Nah, dude, we're not evolving if we're not trying to improve ourselves. In ancient times, it would be the one that could wield the sword the best.
I disagree with you though, Zeus. I coach a lot of sports.
But it's evolution, dude. You can't argue evolution, man.
I totally agree with you. I'm not arguing that.
Allow me to finish.
That's not what's happening in youth sports and with youth.
No. Yeah, you're missing the point. What I'm saying. No, I'm not.
I totally get it. We don't give out. We cut kids from teams. We don't. Not everybody gets to win. Not everybody gets a participation trophy. That stuff that you're talking about doesn't really happen in youth sports. I mean, I'm coaching high school soccer age. I've coached soccer since my kids were in 6 years old, 7 years old.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's at that young age, you're developing players. So yes, there is a point where you want everybody to want to enjoy what they're doing.
But dude, I'm talking about like No Child Left Behind socialism kind of bullshit, where nobody gets to fail. Everybody dude, I failed the 10th grade twice. If I would have failed it one more time, they were gonna let me teach. Okay? The point being is that you have to have the availability to fail in order to have any chance at moving forward. You have to desire that those guys over there have.
I will say, look,
what you're saying though totally goes against what we're talking about with trying to get kids help that are from a broken home, because those same kids that we go through the process then, and like No Child Left Behind, I would want a society that doesn't want to leave any kid behind. That's a society that we should.
I'm not saying you leave them behind. I'm saying you give them something to work for.
What if they fail?
Then you lift them up, but you don't.
That's
but
what
you
No Child Left
don't.
Behind
No,
is.
but you don't say it's okay to fail. You say strive to do more. We have to evolve, dude.
There are certain
You
kids
can't
that will
evolve if you don't
never succeed in the school system because of. There are certain kids that will never succeed in the school system because of how their brain is wired.
That's not their problem. That's the school system's problem.
Well, the school has to educate the masses so that they can't necessarily pigeonhole and individual. We got 33 kids in a classroom for one teacher. How does that teacher not teach to the main? They have to. So the kid that gets lost, the kids that are marginalized, are the ones that inevitably are. Sorry.
But that's why they had learning disability classes. It was to not send them away, but to teach them in a different fashion.
Sure, I agree with.
But you see that that's not saying you're the same as everybody else. That's saying that we need to work with you more, and we're willing to do it.
We have to work with you differently. That costs money.
But
right?
If we say everybody.
Just remember, this kid circumvented all this stuff because no one made him stay in school.
Right.
Because of his broken home. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you're still going to have kids like this that fall through the cracks that just they get out of the system by just not going. And
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that.
That's, you know what? Hey, that's another thing you could do. A kid drops out, goes off the grid. Man, that's the other ones you check.
Yeah.
You know? We're not doing enough.
Legally, you can quit school at 16, right? Legally.
Yeah.
Like that's the law.
I say we change that law.
I have no problem with that either. But we're still dancing around the fact that this kid, when he turned 18, was able to buy a gun very, very easily because Texas has no restrictions on it.
But dude,
that's the problem with this kid, right?
But dude, here's the problem. You keep thinking it's the gun. He would have firebombed these fucking kids if he had
I disagree with that. I disagree with that. You're talking about what? No, let's put it this way. Let's make him have to do that. Is there a problem with making him have to do that? Making him have to take extra steps to get to the point where he's going to be a mass killer? Because if there's not, then we have to accept the fact that there's going to be mass killers.
Well, that's why I like the idea of having those extra steps, like locked doors, single point of entry, and armed fucking guard at the goddamn school. That was my point earlier.
I don't mind an armed guard. I just don't want the teachers. I don't want
there was an armed guard at Parkland.
I want
there was an armed guard at Parkland, right? There was an armed guard at Parkland. So that guy got scared shitless because the kid came in with big guns.
Wrong guy.
Was he a cop?
He's an armed guard. What do you need? This is my point again. You're talking about things that are fallacies about in the ability to actually do them.
I'm not saying get some bum off the street. I'm saying you should actually have someone that's trained to handle this properly.
So all of those police that were at Uvalde that decided not to go in because their commander said, their training said we have to wait. And these kids that were bleeding out and dying.
I know, it was awful.
It's horrible.
So, but aren't those the people that you're talking about, Jack, protecting the schools?
Well, I think the training should be a lot better than those cops that Uvalde had.
They're cops. Like how? Like,
it's an anecdote. I mean, there's been times like another church in California, where the guy came in and they had a security guy who was actually just a volunteer. He was a parishioner.
I remember this.
And
He was shooting them as they were coming out of the church.
No, that was
right?
another one. But this guy took the guy out like almost immediately. As soon as the guy
what about
shot,
the
like,
church and like? But this is the thing. So you're gonna
There's a
put
million
on guard the
anecdotes.
churches too.
There's
No.
a million anecdotes, man. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You can't. This is a complicated, multifaceted, multi-level situation, man.
One of the answers be we need to put restrictions on who can buy guns.
I don't have that being one of them, but that's always the one.
I think that was covered with.
Why is it always not the one?
It's always the one.
No. Why are guns not the problem?
Because the end result, and this is not me making it up, this has been telegraphed, is total removal of them. And honestly, I fear that more than I fear.
I'd like to see the quotes.
A shooter.
I don't believe that that's really truly. They want to get rid of all.
Sure, I'll give you a good example.
That's ridiculous. As a Democrat, that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
That doesn't make any. But that's why I don't think it's true.
So okay.
Show me the quote. Pull them up.
We had a guy on.
We need to get rid of all the guns. Show me that one, because I don't believe it's true, dude.
Okay.
We had a guy on a while back, Mitch.
Send him to me. I'd love to see.
I will. I'll look. It's like turn on the TV, man.
Show him to me. Show him to me. Pull them up right now. Go ahead.
Tour.
It's very simple. Pull the Google up and show me the quotes that you're talking about, because I think it's bullshit, dude. I really do. Democrats do not want to take away all your guns. And 88% of gun owners want common sense regulation.
What is common sense regulation? What is a see this? There's no one defines it. What is a common sense regulation that we don't already have?
Common sense regulation that we just talked about.
We have background checks.
We don't have background checks. Texas has no background checks.
Well, different states have different laws.
But isn't that the point?
We federalize everything.
We can't federalize it, dude. We can't.
Why not?
Because we need autonomy.
Why?
Because of the Second Amendment.
Listen.
Because it's in the Bill of Rights, dude.
No. But
I mean, pass the law.
Pass the law. We need to get into this, but what does well-regulated mean?
Okay.
Because that's what it says.
Wait, hold on.
Scalia said we can make law. Antonin Scalia said that we can make rules that abridge people's rights to own guns.
Here's
certain guns.
Didn't he say that in Heller?
States, better in a lot of ways.
Dude, we have a million
autonomy
laws.
So
what is the? I'm saying, what is the law? Tell me what the law is that would have prevented this from happening in Texas.
The background checks that go on in Massachusetts would have made it very, very difficult for him to get a gun. And certainly,
how about the guy in Connecticut at Sandy Hook that took his mom's assault rifle?
Yep, absolutely. So we shouldn't do anything with them.
No, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm saying we have a million. They broke the law. I mean, that was breaking the law.
So she needed to have. The law.
I'm not. I'm watching the clock. I think we've been on for a while, but I don't want to.
I will look, Tor. I'm pretty busy, but I will give you a list of what I'm talking about, because it's not from outer space. All right, this is like incessant.
But you said yourself,
as soon as one of these things happens, the very first thing you hear is all these politicians saying we have to get rid of.
We had an assault rifle ban in this country, and it was actually I'm pretty sure that after the ban was lifted or was rescinded or however it expired, sunset, mass killings went up. Are those two things related or not related?
Hey, Tor, let me respond to that.
Check that out too.
I'd like to respond to that. And I, dude, I don't own a gun. I have no intent to buy a gun. I do like an M16, man. Don't get me wrong; they're a cool gun. But the point is assault rifle bans are a bad idea for this one reason.
Well, first of all,
we have to have as good a guns as they have, because those guns that we're supposed to have are to rise up against a cruel and unfair government.
Sure.
And if they have all the assault rifles and we got fucking
so we should defund the police?
Rifles, it's not going to work.
So we should defund the police?
What?
So we should defund the police, demilitarize the police?
No, fuck defunding the police. That's stupid.
No, it's not. Because what you're saying is that we have to be,
mutually assured destruction. The four guys here, we have to have that ability. Fuck the police.
No,
coming
but
straight from the underground. Sorry.
don't we have to? But you just said we have to match the police. So if the police have tanks,
No, not match, dude. It's not a competition.
that's what you just said.
No, I didn't say that.
We
I
have
would
to
say
rise up with
we
the
have
same
to match
weaponry
the
that the
police
police
if I
have.
wanted to say. What I'm
Look what's
saying
going on
is
in
that
Ukraine.
we have to have the same ability as they do. Though the beauty of the Constitution and everything about guns is that they gave it this quality to evolve.
Yes, I
So
love
the
that.
guns that were there then are clearly not the guns that we have now, but they kept it general in a sense that it made it so that we would be always be able to have a militia that could rise up against a cruel and unjust government. You can't get rid of that. You just can't.
So
because that's
again,
like saying, here, give us
so-
bows and arrows and you guys keep the guns.
So what you're saying is that when the government sends in the army to quell an insurrection, we need to have the same weaponry that the government has.
I don't like the term
No.
insurrection, but
And no, it's not about the army coming in. And no, it's never going to matter.
Who is it about then? Who are we rising up against?
What I'm saying is,
I'm saying we should always have that ability.
look at Australia, man. Look at Australia. Turned in all their guns, and they were on the craziest lockdown. People having police come to their houses, and there's no alternative.
Well, now wait, Mike. To be fair, Mitch said that it
We also
wasn't
don't have
nearly.
any mass shootings since that happened.
I've also had, other stories besides Mitch.
I know, but he's.
I don't think Mitch lives in all of Australia.
Well, no, he's.
Hey, boys, I hate
so
to do it.
confused as to what are we again? So like the
Why don't we do it to be continued? Can we do it to be continued?
Oh my gosh, it's 11:20. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind doing it to be continued. That's fine.
we're gonna have another gun shooting to talk about the next time we get together. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun.
it'll be a week.
Yeah.
It'll be that or a hijacked plane
All right.
flying into a building.
Well, Tor, thank you for being
Very
on.
welcome.
Yeah, man, seriously.
Hey, listen, I
Thank you for
love
coming
the
on.
conversation, guys. I really do. I'm a little disappointed that gun reform can't be on the table.
Yeah, no, I mean, some level of it is. I liked your high school degree idea, and
That was great.
And we could probably talk about more specifically next week. Why don't we try to do that?
Yeah, we'll have some facts.
Yeah, please. I'd love to see them.
Well, the first thing Zeus said on this was like, we're not talking about guns. So I didn't
Right, he did.
prep
Well,
anything for that.
I didn't say we're not talking about guns. I didn't want that.
I
to
think
be
you did.
No, I didn't want it to be the onus. I didn't want it to be about guns.
You wanted it to be about mental health, but not mental health.
I didn't want the broad use of the term mental health. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
I mean,
I'm gonna get my fucking dodgeball out,
I
Zeus.
said.
do we agree?
Go home and get your fucking dodgeball.
Do we agree that this is a multifaceted
Absolutely.
situation?
Oh,
Do we
yeah.
agree that one of those facets is guns?
Yeah.
And
Okay, as long as
dodgeball.
we're good on that, then
Well, just because, when people say the thing, like when Jack was saying earlier, I mean, a gun is going to kill people a lot faster than some other things. So you do have that effect. Which I get.
I'd like to make sure that we talk about how next week how guns affect suicide rates, because when suicides are attempted with a gun, they're generally successful.
Yeah, they're also generally.
That's a
with
mental
men.
health issue.
Wait. But to argue that they're generally with men because women don't want to have a closed casket. Men are usually the ones that commit suicide with guns.
You're still
And are
talking
also
about
the ones that buy
lots
more
of people.
guns, so.
Lots of people that are mentally unstable at the moment when they do it, right? So
Yeah.
like
Why
that's
are-
another thing that to think about. Like this isn't just if we're just going to talk about the big, huge mass shootings, I don't know how to fix it. I don't know. I can come up with some certain things that might stem them. I don't know. You say, oh well, that wouldn't have worked for this guy. I don't know if it would or not.
I think your idea about 18 or getting a high school diploma is a good idea. I think raising the age that you even get to buy a gun is a good idea. I think early assessment, which none of that's being done, none of it.
Sure.
At all. Like, I think those three things
It's a
would
good
be
start.
key.
It's a good
I
start.
think,
Sure.
I like.
and you know what? If we're wrong, if we didn't consider something, at least, you know, what came from this is a few ideas that certainly,
Love
you
it.
know, are not being used functionally at all. Shit, how about fucking, you know, some kind of soundboard for these kids that have this rage, somewhere where they can call and talk to people like this, like face to face, to see reactions, to interact with people that have the same problems. Like, my thing at the beginning of this is shit's not being done.
Agree.
In some way, shape, or form, if it is getting done, somebody else is not going to profit or
But
succeed.
the thing is, and like I said about being grassroots, like
And
what
it's not the
Tor's,
dodgeball guys, because they went out the fucking door.
but I'm saying it is from the ground up, because like what Tor's doing with being a coach and stuff like that, that's the single best thing you could possibly do. He's interacting with these kids of different ages. He's, you know, in their life. I'm sure he like talks to them about stuff that has nothing to do with the sport once in a while and things like that. So it's like having, you know, guys who take the time to mentor and be with younger people that aren't necessarily even their kids. That's where, I mean, that's, like I said, of the four of us, Tor's doing more to help with this situation just by doing that than anything we're talking about. So, and that's, yeah, I mean,
Tor
that is kind of what I'm. But
Tor
listen,
is not the answer.
I'm gonna fucking hit you with a dodgeball. I swear to God.
But that's kind of what I'm talking about as far as like this is a societal issue, and what we're seeing is the result. And you can't just solve the result. You have to solve the cause. And the cause is multifaceted.
Oh,
and also, yeah, I mean
my thing is we got to do something, and we're not doing nothing. And that's just such a bit, dude. And then Jack can do his spiel.
Yeah.
On the
All right.
unit,
I've got to go.
Constantly, I have people come on, and you see these poor kids that are fucking basket cases, and I love them. I really do. 9 times out of 10, I really do like them a lot. Like this Mike Tyson kid. But you look at their family, and their family is fucking. You can see where it came from.
Yeah, you can't save them all.
Well, you can't see their parents, which is where it started with, and their parents. Like, this is societal ills are societal ills for a reason, right?
They go back.
You know, fixing these things is not. It's certainly not easy. I like talking about them. You know, everything comes down to, all right, well, let's spend more money on education. Let's spend more money in schools.
How about let's spend less time talking about it, more time doing shit. That's my thing.
But you know, that's hard. It's a tough life, man. It ain't easy to just say, let's just fix things by action, because everybody, like, I'm doing this because I love it, but I'm also doing it because I want to, next year I'm getting paid to do it. You know, so it's like, okay, because I can't afford to just give my time away because I'm not rich. And a lot of us need, you know, that's like, so to just say, oh, volunteering and that'll fix it. Yeah, it kind of will, but how do you do it where I'm not exhausted for my job the next day? Or, you know, there's not an easy solve. One of the things that you guys said that I think is really important is we have lots of money for things, and what we decide to spend it on shows us who our society is. And what do we decide to spend most of our money on as our United States budget every year? What do we spend the most money on? Come on, I'll say it with me. Guns.
Porn.
Military, right?
Oh.
Yeah, so let's put them in the schools.
Well,
porn school.
But doesn't that show what we're talking about? Doesn't that show what society, like, if we spend most of our federal budget on military, right? What are we saying to kids? What are we saying to our society? That's the most important thing. We certainly don't spend it the most on education.
No, well, like I said, I think they should share some of that money and put some of those armed guys at the schools, but I've already said that.
I think this is a two-parter, and guys, we're going to get kicked out of the bar.
Guys,
good to see you, Michael.
Guys,
take care, Tor.
This has been great. Thank you for watching, and it's been a while wrapping things up.